This week here in the Gamers for Life podcast, we're going to be talking about the Halo TV series, episode 4, my impressions on that. The Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer that was, debuted earlier this week, what we make of it. Some interesting news from the head of No Man's Sky, Sean Murray, Witcher 3 news as far as the next gen being canceled, and some more coming up here at the Gamers for Life podcast. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Gamers for Life podcast, where each and every Friday/Saturday these days, talking about all things games. I'm one of your hosts, Jarrell. With me is my burping buddy, Arthur. What's happening, dude?
That's not me burping. That's literally just my throat. Those noises were literally just my chest and throat. I'm like, man, it looks like that water. I'm like, dude, I feel like the more time goes on, I'm getting older and whiter. I'm like, sorry, that water was pretty spicy. Like, the only thing I've had all day was like beef jerky and a snack like a couple hours ago, and I took some water a minute ago, and I was like, oh, I had a little kick to it. Careful, guys, Aquafina, it's gonna get you fucking.
Oh man.
My bad.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. I just thought that was funny.
I know, it's like, okay, let me mute. Drell's talking. Oh, I'm about to talk. Unmute. I'm like, what the fuck, esophagus?
So before we get started, or before I do my spiel, games, what are you playing these days?
I got back into Fallen Order. I haven't played it for a few weeks. I got back into it, so I started streaming it. And I forgot that where I left off was where a cutscene started, and the cutscene the cutscene like that started at my last stream / now video that's up on the channel. The order it starts out with the Order 66 stuff.
Oh, okay, nice.
Get fucked, Jedi.
Well, I tip my hat off to you because I've stepped away from Sifu quite a bit. There's just too many deaths that I've gotten from that. Where I'm just like, I'm gonna rage quit. I need to step away from this game.
Well, I'll say, remember from one thing we talked about from the idea Xbox. I'm gonna correct myself momentarily. I remember there was that Sifu game coming to Game Pass day one, Taiko.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, so if you want to get back in that genre, but one, not pay for it, and two, not be as a learning curve. That game's coming out.
Exactly.
May 5th, Cinco de Mayo.
All right, and good old Game Pass, doing it for us. And here at and then for just to let everybody know, obviously for the podcast, if you are checking this out, hello, be sure to like and subscribe here on the channel. We'd really appreciate it. Typically 80% of our people that watch the show, they are not subscribers of the show, and we'd love for you to be subscribers. So hit the subscribe button, notification bell, so you know when the episodes are coming out. If you want to check out Arthur's streaming, it's also on the channel. He manages the stream, and like he just said, restreaming Fallen Order and a bunch of other games coming out in the future. And also, too, since it is a podcast, we do have a bunch of audio episodes as well, previous audio episodes that we have recorded. So if you want to check those out, go to linktree.com/gamers for life. That is the one-stop link to all of the audio podcasts there. And here at the Gamers for Life podcast, we read the news while you can watch or listen to what you choose by clicking on the links to the time code within the description of the episode, so you can go directly to the segment that you care for, or you can also hang out with us here at the Gamers for Life podcast. More than welcome to do that. And today, of course, we're starting out same process. Unfortunately, only one of us has seen the episode because of life, but
that was my bad. I just realized why my mental calendar was thrown off. It's because I got called into work today.
Yeah, no worries. Hey, you got to make that money, man.
Real quick, to correct myself, because I knew I was wrong. It didn't feel correct. Trek to Yumi is the game I was referring to.
Oh, okay.
The game, the Sifu like samurai game coming to Game Pass, Trek to Yumi.
Right. And that was debuted at or at least from my understanding. ID at Xbox, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, it was.
that looked really cool. So, continuing here on the journey of us talking about our impressions of the Halo TV series on Paramount Plus, available now. Episode 4 is the most recent episode here that's come out for the Halo TV series. I will say, because I did get to watch it today, just some standard impressions. Obviously episode 3 was very much kind of like why are we doing this to ourselves? Luckily this episode there was a little bit more of the ball is rolling. Quan was more so involved.
Okay.
She ended up going to the planet where one of her relatives, or Madrigal, if you will.
Madrigal. I gotta do it every
Madrigal.
time. I gotta do it every time. I can't not.
I know. So she went to Madrigal, and that was interesting. Obviously, Bokeem Woodbine's character, went with her, and how Quan, she's very, very ambitious but naive at the same time, and ran into some old folks that she used to know. They're telling her like, hey, like shit's changed, like the revolution's over, like. We're not doing that anymore. So she's like, no, it's like, no, we can't, you have to keep fighting, so, and now there's a bounty on her head from the same guy that was executing those protesters. So the ball's starting to roll on that. And then when it goes back to, the storyline of Master Chief trying to find his memories and find his dog and all that shit. There was an interesting moment where at part of the memories he started to see Dr. Halsey and a younger Dr. Halsey. And
Was she beating him?
No, she wasn't.
I'm just saying of all these again, like we talked about last episode, of all these flashback scenes we're getting that no one kind of like truly asked for, I would just like kind of like the old school, like almost like Catholic school thing. It's like, what's the answer to this, John? I don't know.
Yeah. That's not her swag. She'd more so like drug induce you or something.
Yeah, you're right.
But so she starts showing up in these memories, and he's like, "Why were you there?" And then she made some bullshit excuse. I'm just like, "Come on, man! Like that pill's out of your ass. Like use some common sense, bro."
It's like you've heard music now. You can think for yourself.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's like you know all the inventions of Bach's music there. So but yeah, so as far as for the story, it was a little it started to progress a bit more. And there's a little bit of an action scene where they're trying to get out of Madrigal because they're like, hey, there's a bounty on this lady's head, so Bokeem Woodbine here to take out some dudes. So that was interesting as far as to show that, and then there's a little bit of action, but man, like we could have really used that last episode, dude.
well, like I said, for me, episode 2 was like the most skippable one. Episode 2 was straight up. Episode 2 was like the almost like what felt like a prequel episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, let's say, I feel like, again, my bad, sorry, not seeing episode 4. I feel like episode 1 was like the giant trailer for the show with how just awesome it was.
Yeah,
so like it's like, oh, that guy's head's gone, awesome. And then episode 2 is like kind of set the tone for, I say for now, unfortunately, or just how different it felt compared to episode 1. Episode 2 is what really set the tone for the show. Like, this is a show we're getting. And now again, from what I was talking with you with episode 4, it's like, it's weird how it almost feels like it almost kind of feels like this is the show called Halo, but Master Chief's story is kind of getting, if not pushed to the side, just not being the story. Definitely not the story we thought we were gonna get. And then 2, it's like kind of, I don't, you know what I mean? It's like it's at times feels like not the main focus of the show. Which,
yeah, I definitely know what you mean, and I think for me to forgive them, is I'm curious to see where they're going to go from a story perspective after this, because I kind of take this as like the Batman origin story or the hero origin story, right? Where it's like, okay, like if you're gonna do it, just do it this time, but then the next film needs to be an actual story that's new that everyone doesn't already know, or just not an origin story. So,
Yeah.
I feel like that's where I feel like we'll know how good the writing is after that. A couple funny things. One thing is that he put the helmet back on temporarily. Put it back on. So it's
Okay.
like, oh, okay, Master
First time
Chief.
since episode 2.
Yeah, like he put it on like before he got off of the planet of where he used to live with his parents, and then he took it off afterwards, and we're like, oh, and then he put it back. And then he put it back on when Cortana was like, "Oh, like I can kind of simulate what the house actually looked like, but you had to put your helmet on like virtually." So he put it back on, and he was kind of like identifying, bringing some certain stuff down. But I thought it was funny just because like Dr. Halsey and her like assistant dude, they're both just like kind of looking at him like he's acting strange. He's gonna turn on us. Like it's almost like it's like how far the mouse can go into the maze before you have to shoot the mouse.
Yeah.
Like I kind of feel like that was like 50-60% of the episode where it's like this mouse is starting to figure out that this is a maze. And it was like, hey, where's my fan? What are you doing to me? Bye. So it seems like slowly but surely you're gonna get, Dr. House is gonna show her evil antagonistic side, but slowly but surely it's gonna start happening, especially when he first he actually asked like, why were you there, and I thought he was gonna ask, why didn't you tell me you were there? I think that would be a better question, because it's like you know what I mean. But yeah.
So again, without seeing it, so to your point, you made us. So your point, like this is. Again, it just feels like a giant prelude to like the next chapter in the story.
I think so.
So my question, because then you said that's how you'll forgive him is when we actually get when we stop getting when we stop getting Batman training and when we get Batman.
Yeah.
My question is how long do you think till we get that point? Is it like somewhere in this season, or like the season finale will end with now he's Master Chief? Or just like.
I mean, to me, honestly, I think it's next season. We're gonna get some fun. I know we're gonna get some fun action for probably 2 solid episodes. I think there's 9 episodes in this season. We're already on episode 4, so it's very possible that if the last 4 episodes are like the first episode, then I'll be like, okay, B+. You know what I mean?
I'm just a little sad. Again, yeah. I'm just a little sad that we've technically seen Master Chief's parents' taste in furniture before we've gone in grunts.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
we know how they decorated their house. We
know what area in IKEA they shopped at. What was his parents' feng shui furniture? But I haven't gone in grunts yet.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, part of me is wondering too, like. Obviously, well, it's interesting too how they ended the episode, like basically saying like, oh, like because one of the soldiers also took a pill out on top of her butt, and she was like talking to the other that actress that you didn't like her lines because she said stuff that was like
Halsey's daughter,
page by page, like exactly
that one spiel of like and skip
page by page like that thing.
Her character is Halsey's is also Halsey's daughter too.
Okay. Right. So she was talking to a soldier who did that and like changed her hair a little bit,
Yeah.
And she was, and she obviously she doesn't know that the soldier took the pill out of her, but was saying basically how like Dr. Halsey like emotion is like basically gets in the way, and like which is why that whole thing was created. And basically saying like if she finds out, like it's gonna be a problem. But so I'm curious. So yeah, I'm just waiting for her to go full on evil You know what I mean? Just to be full on evil. I feel like this is very much so a plot line from. It reminds me of like from like the Flash, and I know like the TV series on CW. There's a lot of seasons, but the first few seasons were basically like the guy that was inside the wheelchair. He's actually the bad guy, but he was acting like he was the good guy for like 5 fucking seasons until like it was like found like, oh, you're the bad guy, and then like I kind of hate that plot line where it's like we know this person's fucking evil, but the main character doesn't know that they're evil. It's kind of an annoying plot thing to me. But
I think the only time that was really done well was the prequels. The prequels leading up from Senator Palpatine, to Emperor Palpatine. That's like one of the only times that's been done well, but you're right. That was like, it's like, hey, how come the music shifted and the lighting went dark and it shows them an angry face? I think it might be the villain, and the show's like, oh no, it's not. It's somebody else.
That's hilarious.
And here's the other thing too, with the whole like, especially when it comes to sci-fi, or even fantasy. I get just on a logic level, if you really want to get into the critique of the show, it does make sense why these quote unquote super soldiers don't have emotions.
Yes.
But when it comes to that moment of them becoming more human and having emotions, even that little like snippet, I feel like they either should have focused on it or not, because they kind of left in the middle. I feel like I've seen it done a lot better multiple times. You know what I mean? So with this whole, because like I said, them taking out them removing their emotion, their emotional inhibitor, I feel like either make it a big deal or no. I feel like it's in the middle where like they want to tell us that they remove their emotions, and what's all that's happened? Master Chief listened to music, and the female soldier dyed her hair. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like
you're saying it should be a bigger thing than it is, or just don't do it at all.
Exactly, because I feel like because what's them discovering their emotion? Like, oh, I had a dog, and even then it wasn't like I had a dog, I had all this, and like it's not like a wave of memories hitting him like a truck all at once. Like, oh my god, I used to be human. It's clearly becoming a theme. The fact that most soldiers are doing it, and the fact that we're still like he's just that like this is pretty much now. Unless I'm wrong, because I haven't seen the episode. It sounds like this is now kind of right now Master Chief's main story is him diving down these memories, diving down all this, and how he's reacting to it. But it's like kind of minimal. You know what I mean? Like there's no like them like discovering having those emotions and like crying. Like it's almost a trope, but if it's done well, it's done well. It's like someone discovers an emotion, or like they pick up a flower, or they like hold a, like I think it was like one sci-fi thing did it where they truly saw the repercussions of war, and they like pick up an enemy, or like they hold the hand of a dead like 17-year-old they killed, and they start crying. So that's what I mean, how we've seen logically the super soldier doesn't need emotions to fight better.
Yeah.
And then what happens when they get emotions? Again, I feel like we've seen that's a common thing, but we've seen it done, I think, significantly better multiple times.
Yeah, I will say it's not. I would say slightly in their defense, it's not entirely out of left field, just because the theme from, I would say, from the first to second episode, it's been this theme of control, right? Mm-hmm. Especially when it comes to his initial orders of killing Quan, and obviously he didn't do that. And then you have the whole Cortana thing, as far as like that's supposed to be another control factor that's inserted in his brain. But yeah, I do think it has been done better. I know they have a lot that they're trying to get through still.
Yeah.
So I feel like the biggest issue is just kind of like you're shuffling all of these little plot lines, and then maybe not all of them are necessary, because I really like Bokeem Woodbine's character. I think he's a relevant character, and I like him. I like the relationship that he has with Quan, so I will give them that. I do like that relationship. because he's like, look, like I don't care about you, kid. I just want the money. So like
I like the bluntness, and
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah.
Both for his character and our relationship, it works.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, I got a penthouse inside an asteroid. You want me to leave that shit? I'm getting paid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no. But I was just gonna say, yeah, he definitely he kicked some ass this episode. So, but yeah, I think this is if I were to predict the play for this season, the last 4 episodes need to be hard hitting. They have to be, because I know for a fact, at least for a guessing fact, but or not a fact at all, but this is my prediction. Use words, Jarrell. So prediction. I would say that a lot of viewers dropped. I think, especially from the last episode, like
I would say, technically on paper,
yeah, 50% of our hosts stopped watching Halo. But I think the last 4 episodes need to be fire, and they need to really tie it where the next season people are going to watch, and they're not going to say, okay, that was definitely like, that was awful, and I'm not watching the next season. Like, they really need to give people a reason to watch the next season, and that's why I started to appreciate these shows like 24 and like the shows back in the day, the Breaking Bads of our generation, where the writing, some of the best writing in television history, as far as like pushing to this progression, and really making you want to watch the next episode, and I just wish they would do that a little better for this Halo show. I feel like they have too many subplots that don't necessarily need to be there. I think that's probably my main concern with the show.
There is it's like it goes back to like how I described the feeling overall last episode, and the theme is like, yes, this is called Halo, but kind of like ODST and like Reach, this is arguably not truly about Master Chief. There is a lot going on, like I said, like if this was a game, it has a feeling of like, the non-numerical storyline games, just because there's a lot of stuff going on. And I don't know, like, but I definitely agree with you that they need to have some hard hitting things, like I said, like I want to see grunts.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And that's a fair criticism. Like Halo is an action centered like type of story. We like like have a lore, have a story, but like Halo is action centered. Have action. It's like a war movie without any war at all. You know what I mean? So it's like if it's not a sniping film, we need to see some war. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of one of those things. So yeah, I do think there needs to be more of that. And speaking of things that we saw and we might not be super excited about, I wanted to transition over to this Kingdom Hearts trailer, Kingdom Hearts 4. And I know not everyone's on the same page of like, yeah, I can't believe they're doing this. I'm super excited. Did you get the chance to watch? Oh yeah, you sent that trailer to me. So what were your thoughts on that?
I mean, I kind of saw it, but then I immediately just closed the window. Was like, okay. Put it this way, the collective response of the gaming community, especially the Kingdom Hearts fandom, because how long we've had to wait for how long we had to wait for part 3. Remember, 1 and 2, PS2, boom, 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 a few years apart. And they went off and was like, we're going to make a game for every fucking console except for the PS2. Like, literally, it was for everything. There was the PSP one, the DS version, the 3DS version, all this other shit. But like many games do, they were not truly part 3, because it was like, okay, side story. And then Birth by Sleep. It's been so long. And then like out of nowhere, it's like and like even the remakes, because remember how many fucking games they made? It was even the remakes was a trilogy.
Yeah,
it was Kingdom Hearts remake 1.5, 2.5, and the Kingdom Hearts 2.8, because like that's how many fucking games they made that wasn't a true sequel of part 3. And of course, I didn't play all of them because I didn't own every console. I haven't owned every single fucking game.
I gotta buy all of the platforms so I can see what the fuck's going on in the story. Yeah, it's madness. It's madness.
And so when they finally announced, when they finally reveal, remember that I still fucking remember that Square Enix fucking E3. He was like, and by the way, we have one more thing to show you. Boom, the Kingdom Hearts logo, and everyone lost their fucking mind.
Yeah.
The crowd went nuts. All the people watching live went nuts. There's still compilations of people's reactions, and I feel like the collective for this was like, okay, because and so to answer your question, how like for me, a lot of people the same way. Our reaction to this new trailer was like, okay, and the reason for that is because part 3 was a big, I'm gonna be honest, a big letdown.
Yeah.
Like it for me arguably definitely had the best combat of any Kingdom Hearts, because it just got to the point like you have to like in part 2 you lost your memories, so to get your memories back, so it took you a while to get all like your combos back, your forms back. Part 3 is like boom, you have your summons, you have all this, go, and you just unlock more shit as it goes on. But like I said, we'd have watched the entire fucking like music video for Let It Go. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play the game now. No, nope. Okay, cool. We're gonna sing the whole song. We're gonna sing the whole song. Okay. And then you finally get to the level, the frozen level, and it's literally you climbing up the same hill 3 times because you keep getting knocked down. So the maps weren't that diverse. They weren't that expansive like they were. The worlds weren't as like, I don't want to say shocking, but like they weren't as like, oh shit, that's in the game. The only cool moment I thought that was really different for part 3 is you fight like a Japanese Lolita anime doll as a boss fight in the Toy Story world. You're like, oh wow, it's like a little Japanese anime Lolita doll. Oh, that's the boss. But again, so a part 4 coming out, I don't know. I mean, the graphics clearly have changed. Like they're clearly using a different engine, different art style. It's clearly different. It's clearly a huge overhaul in the aesthetics and the art style. I'm kind of here for it. I mean, I'm not like, because even I feel like the purists, you know, because if you want to be a purist, like that's not the Kingdom Hearts I know. Well, neither was part 3.
Right.
The only thing that like kind of, these are 2 things I told you I'm already kind of like quote unquote over because they've given us enough, at least in the past 4 years. Star Wars and Marvel levels. There's no reason they shouldn't be in part 4. I mean, with how much Disney, like I would say how much Disney dropped money on, but we both know Microsoft bought Bethesda for more than Disney bought Star Wars. But there's no reason, as just in terms of like the worlds, like I said, the new worlds in part 3 were kind of a letdown. There's no reason a Star Wars and or Marvel thing should not be in this new game, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Because I heard too that they kind of hinted in the end of the trailer that there's going to be some Star Wars stuff like that. That person that Goofy and Donald were like in the dark or whatever. Yeah, that it might have been like a potentially a Sith Lord or something.
Yeah, aesthetically speaking, the main enemies like Organization 13 and like Sith Lords, aesthetically, black robe, similar aesthetics going on.
Yeah. So, but I agree with you, man. It's like, look, if you guys have a fucking IP, why not apply it into this world, you know? Yeah. So I think you're making a lot of sense there. So we'll see what happens. But speaking of games that we are proud of, and the game makers that we are proud of, good old Sean Murray, the head of Hello Games. So he talks about some interesting stuff on some future potential projects, and I thought this was interesting. I wanted to share it a bit, just a little bit of this paragraph here. So this is on MSN.com. It says here, quote, Hello Games is working on its next title, and it looks as though it's going to be a feat for the studio to make. So Sean Murray, studio head and director of No Man's Sky, spoke with IGN saying, for a while now, we've been working on something pretty ambitious in the background. It's a small team, but we like it that way. Similar to No Man's Sky, it's kind of a project that even if we had 1,000 people working on it, it would still seem impossible, end quote. This Hello Games announced that they were working on a new project back in September last year, stating that whatever it is, it won't be a sequel to No Man's Sky. With another game in development, Murray assured No Man's Sky's fans that this will not affect the speed of ongoing content updates. Murray explained No Man's Sky is not being held back by the next project, but neither is the new thing being slowed by No Man's Sky. And it says No Man's Sky just released their Outlaws update, revamping space combat on top of many other new additions, including Space Pirates. The sci-fi exploration title will be making its way to the Nintendo Switch later this year. End quote. So, very exciting stuff. I feel like Sean Murray is the new Todd Howard. What do you think, Arthur?
I agree with that. I've been singing No Man's Sky's praises, and I finally reinstalled it. I finally reinstalled it. I thought also really random in terms of like compression, in terms of storage compression, with how big the game is, just in terms of just vastness, like in terms of planets. Like it's arguably like a fucking universe, because the planets are huge. And with all the expansions, with all the award-winning expansions, free award-winning expansions we'd be getting, it's only 13 gigabytes. And it's still on Game Pass. So I have downloaded it. I may even play it tonight, depending how much I put into Fallen Order after recording. But I really want to get back into it. It's now with Sean Murray, I just can't praise this guy enough. One thing you and I were talking about is remember, even though No Man's Sky is definitely in the list of games that were a quote unquote failure at launch or misleading or lying to a launch, I still, it does kind of get an asterisk in that list, because the other games in the list would arguably be like Halo, in a sense that, its multiplayer is not what we promised. Its campaign was not cooperative. The shitty launch that was Battlefield 2042, the shitty launch that was Battlefield 2042, the shitty launch that was Fallout 76, the crazy launch that was Cyberpunk 2077. Even though it is in that list of arguably failed launches, it's not a AAA game. Every other game in that list is a AAA, like Bethesda, CD Projekt Red, DICE, EA. Whereas at the time of launch, Hello Games was 12 to 16 people. So again, for them to have this massive successful comeback, I'm still proud of. And the fact that he's announcing his next game and he's gonna be very ambitious, I cannot wait for it. I'm definitely team Sean Murray. I cannot praise the success and how they've continued this. And one thing we mentioned to you is, arguably, if you look at the timeline, it is crazy to think how much more No Man's Sky has been fixed, like let's say year 2, compared to where we are now with CD Projekt Red. CD Projekt Red is approaching year 2. Oh, sorry. Cyberpunk 2077 is approaching year 2. So you look at where No Man's Sky was after year 2 and look at this. What's going on of why this team at a time of 16 people is able to fix their game more than CD Projekt Red is able to fit Cyberpunk?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a valid question. I do think there's probably details that maybe we're not catching. I will say, though, I think the most interesting thing in this paragraph that I read, that I think is kind of not a nod, but maybe some type of unheard, maybe like a silent response to CD Projekt Red, is he said that working on the new game, it's not going to slow down any updates of No Man's Sky, but the new game will not be slowed down by No Man's Sky as well. Yeah. So I thought that was a pretty poignant thing, saying, hey, we are on track. We are working on this. Whatever we're doing for the new game, it is on track. It's not being slowed down by No Man's Sky, and vice versa. Awesome. Which as we've talked about, which we were talking about with CD Projekt Red, I mean, it's kind of in a sense segueing over. I didn't want to segue over too early, but fuck it. Was the whole Witcher situation, right? Yep. So you have Cyberpunk 2077. They're still working on that. Like you said, it's a year two. You know, there's a bunch of updates that they've made. Those updates they had to roll back because it created more issues than it did. You know what I mean? And then obviously Cyberpunk, I would say it's more of a detailed oriented game compared to No Man's Sky from a micro situation, not necessarily a macro. I feel like No Man's Sky might be even a bigger game than Night City for Cyberpunk, but I think there's more specific attention to detail that Cyberpunk has to kind of fix, just because for the sheer fact that the game was arguably 2 years away from being done, and they released it mad early, and then they didn't even fucking look at the PS5 and Xbox Series X versions. But I found it interesting too, just talking about the Witcher, how the Witcher 3 next gen. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of different reports, man. I'm hearing that it's canceled indefinitely. I see this report here from today at 10:47 a.m. from IGN.com. There's a title of the article. It says Witcher 3 next gen, not in development hell. CD Projekt Red promises. It says no mention of Russia as CD Projekt reacts to Witcher 3 next gen headlines. It says here on their Twitter, they say that we've decided to have our in-house development team conduct the remaining work on the next-gen version of Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. We are currently evaluating the scope of work to be done and thus have to postpone Q2 release until further notice.
Damn.
You know, so I didn't forget about the Russian thing, but I'm wondering how that is impacting this game. As we know, you know, like the Stalker... The Stalker, you know, folks, how that, you know, potentially is putting a hold on their stuff. But I think, I mean, even before this insane, you know, experience and, you know, war that we're experiencing across the board, obviously, thoughts and prayers to those folks in the Ukraine and even just those that are innocent bystanders in Russia. You know, talking about CD Projekt Red, it just seems like they're kind of all over the place from a development perspective. You know what I mean? And then, you know, we of course, we never forget as the internet, this mobile nonsense that they were working on as well.
That just happened to come out the same just happened to come out like not too long after Cyberpunk's launch. And in hindsight, if I were them, I would have delayed that mobile game. Only because it happened exactly as it played out. By releasing the mobile game, it immediately drew the question that a ton of people asked, well, why were you focusing on this and a game that any QA person can play for 5 minutes and realize this game is not done. This game needs its work.
It kind of just really quick to chime in. I apologize. I was gonna say it kind of reminds me of this Battlefield thing. Remember when they were they're making a Battlefield mobile game?
Yeah,
but they didn't mention it during E3. But we were like, what?
Hey, yeah, you know, they mentioned all this other shit. We're like, hey, they didn't mention Battlefield Mobile, and that was very stinky. But
yeah,
on a business sense, really, it was smart on their end,
right?
Because
especially because the game didn't work.
You know, it's you know, you look at the, you know. So look at the things. So take a look at the things. You know, if you look at things we just mentioned real quick, like quick tangent, but a good like thought process, is like, so look at CD Projekt Red's mobile, like little mobile thing, and you know, you look at that Battlefield 2042 had a beta, but they chose to fix literally nothing, and they had a mobile game, and then for me, kind of also including, it's like, not apples to apples, but also including that early interview with Phil Spencer about Halo Infinite. This won't ruin Halo. Halo will still be alive. Well, none of us were thinking it was going to die. Well, and so now it's like, man, it's like when it comes to these little, like, not headline making, exactly headline making, like interviews or stuff like that. It's like you really got to pay attention to like these little things. Like the Sean Murray interview, like how Sean Murray mentioned that we just discussed. He said our future, that our our efforts or us making this next future game will not affect the expansion of No Man's Sky. So now it's like you gotta pay attention of like, okay, what's really like what like it's kind of like quietly painting a picture of what's truly happening in the background of these companies. It's like because clearly I don't know the player count or the quality, but I've yet to see a headline saying Battlefield Mobile doesn't work. So why? So potentially, why is it that this Battlefield Mobile game is successful yet the console version and every other version shit the bed?
Yeah.
You look at CG Projekt Red, Cyberpunk thing shit the bed. This mobile thing happened out. So I guess my like vague, not tinfoily hat, but like connecting the dots. It's like, man, how many little snippets of an interview are like, wait, what do you really mean by that? Is
Right.
what I'm getting at. Is the long trail of the long weird trail of the past 2 years of interviews or launches is me like loosely kind of getting to like, what did they really mean by that? Like, should we have focused on that like way more? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Because I feel like no one's really talked about Battlefield Mobile because clearly and deservedly the focus was so much on the shitty of the game. But like now I wonder, it's like how much did they focus on mobile compared to this?
Right.
And now with this Witcher, back to the main topic, it's like how much focus is CG Projekt Red? Are they truly giving this Witcher situation?
Yeah. And speaking of connecting the dots, Arthur.
You're welcome for the alley oop.
Oh man.
Just on it today. I like it. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, speaking of connecting the dots, Arthur, as you are well aware, and all of the hilarious pokes are very much are very much warranted. Hideo Kojima, there's rumors along the mill, allegedly, that potentially Sony has maybe acquired Kojima Productions. So just to read a little bit of this article here, because obviously this is all speculative, but according to videogameschronicle.com, their title of this article says here, the PlayStation Studios website banner has added Death Stranding, leading to acquisition speculation. Sony published Kojima Productions' debut game for PS4 and PS5. I'm going to read this here a little bit. It says, in quote, as spotted by a Resetera user, the image of Death Stranding's Sam Bridges has replaced one of the concrete genie previous included on the banner. Other changes include the addition of Demon Souls and updated MLB Horizon and Gran Turismo images. It says Hideo Kojima founded Kojima Productions in 2005 under the control of Konami, where he worked for 30 years and created the Metal Gear series. After splitting from Konami in 2015, he reformed Kojima Productions as an independent studio backed by PlayStation. The company's first game was Death Stranding, which Sony published for PS4 in 2019 and for the PS5 in the form of 2021's Director's Cut. PC versions of the title were published by 505 Games. It says here in March, Kojima revealed that the studio is relocating after 5 years at its Tokyo-based office, although the reason for the move was not specified. PlayStation boss Jim Ryan recently confirmed that Sony has more acquisitions planned following the number of recent buyouts. Over the past year, the platform holder has acquired Haven, Blue Point Studios, Housemarque, Nixxes Software, and Firesprite. It was also announced in January that Sony has plans to acquire Halo, Bungie, the deal worth $3.6 billion in the trash. And quote.
Man, that's a crazy quote, Drill. No,
well, quoted by me, but
I know this is like,
yeah,
it's like
I wish they wrote that,
dude. I still can't believe like that was Sony's quote unquote response to like the fucking jaw dropping ridiculous Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard. Oh, we got Bungie, and everyone going like, they don't make Halo anymore, right?
It's a really bad deal. I mean, there are some folks that are hardcore into Destiny, but the fact that Bungie said, "Hey, it's not gonna affect anything that we're doing. Everything that we're doing is going to release on all platforms." I'm thinking, well, Jesus, why the fuck even buy them for $3.6 billion? Put it towards something else. So
It's because remember it was later revealed that like at least Sony's future plans for 343 and the Destiny IP is like was quote beyond gaming. So like a show or a movie or most likely a show.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So it seems like the purchase is more so, not necessarily a game medium, more so maybe a movie basis. But hell, man, if it's going to look like anything like Paramount Plus, I mean, they might lose more money than what they've made back.
Advice to the coming Destiny show: keep helmets on.
For the love of God, don't take your helmets off. So leaning back here to this alleged rumor of Hideo Kojima, Kojima Productions being acquired by Sony, I really feel like Sony, as we know, that they're really losing everything that's made them Sony when it comes to a lot of these games. We've joked time and time again about MLB The Show showing up on Game Pass, just right in the clutch. Everyone can play it, and it used to be Pass. On Sony.
Day one.
Yeah, it's kind of like Game Pass is like Microsoft is like Mr. Steal Your Girl, and they stole Sony's girl via MLB The Show. But yeah, given this, because I am predicting. Let me just say what's real. I'm predicting that they have had conversation. The Xbox has had conversations with Hideo Kojima trying to sign some type of a deal, and knowing Kojima just from a pattern perspective, I know he's not very quick to make quick decisions, hasty to make quick decisions. So I know he kind of wants to see everything to see what happens. I have a feeling that my Xbox has talked to them more than Sony has. Just because Jim Ryan is I feel like I think he's a prick for one, but I also think that he doesn't really understand the value of Hideo Kojima when it comes to how it can, it's such a huge brand of PlayStation. When you think Kojima, you think of PlayStation. I mean, that's what it used to be, before these games were out on other platforms,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts? I
feel like once again, starting the quarter strong. Kojima rumors, we're on track.
I know, dude. It's April. We're still getting Kojima rumors. I'm almost with you at this point. I'm like, God damn it! Can you give me something solid? Like, did you sign like every NDA for the past 10 fucking years? Like, it's getting really annoying.
And I'll say this, even on like just. The man is very stoic, like not only for business but for pleasure. Like his social media never has captions. He'll just like post shit and just be like, "Yep."
He's doing everything except for what we want him to do. It's like, hey, I made a new book. I'm like, what are you working on? It's like, I need a new podcast, guys. What are you working on?
And it's like, what are you working on? I'm not here to talk about that. God damn it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, Abandoned, coming out never.
He's like, I'm trying to get some new hobbies, like making a new game. How dare you ask me that? How dare you, sir? A side note question leading up to something. Question with Zoom. Just stick with me here.
Oh god.
Can you change backgrounds mid call, or do you have to like just pick one and stick with it?
I think you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I say make, even though I know shit of technology. I want to make a Charlie Day meme of just you and Kojima and all the fucking pinpoints everywhere.
Oh yeah. I'm just gonna make it a segment. I'll just switch to virtual background and have it be home. Yeah, Charlie from It's Always Sunny.
But so back to this real quick. Another thing. So first of all, this rumor definitely, I would say, for Sony people would give hope, but not only in the sense it's a rumor, I would say not only because it's Kojima and a rumor, I want to say hold your breath, but you are valid. We are valid that like we would almost bet money that Phil Spencer and Xbox has been talking with Kojima. And let's say hypothetically, if both companies were to make a bid, Kojima he's an artist. Let's start with that.
Right.
He is an artist at heart. You look at the man, you look what he's created. He is an artist. Jim Ryan, he's a businessman.
Yeah.
Now I'm not saying Phil Spencer is not. I'm not like, oh yeah, Phil Spencer's the next Picasso. But what I'm saying is, you look at the decisions which paint a picture, and interviews comparing it to Jim Ryan is clearly treating Sony like a business, whereas arguably Phil Spencer, I would say, both in interviews and his decisions, is treating Xbox gaming as an art, with the focus on the focus on growth of the growth on developers. I think Kojima's interests would align up more with potentially Xbox as a whole. And like you said, he is a patient, stoic guy.
Yeah.
So if a bid were to be made, that his potential reply or time to make a decision would be far greater than other potential situations. And I think, like I said, if even, like, let's say dollar value, even if you ignore the fact that Microsoft has more capital to spend on him, I feel like even if you're to put hypothetically to the penny, Sony making an offer matching what Microsoft would offer, I think he would end up with Microsoft.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point. I think the one thing that I would edit from what you said, as far as for the difference between Ryan and Spencer's a businessman, but he has a gamer mindset. He always has the gamer in mind. I think that's the only thing I would edit, but everything else I think is exactly right. And I think that's what really is between, what's the difference between him and Jim Ryan. Jim Ryan doesn't really have a gamer mindset. I don't even know if he plays games. You know what I mean? So
he just gives off that. He just gives off that vibe, and it's like, and it's almost like like to the movie reference Ready Player One, where the main character has that interview with the main villain, and the main villain has his fucking earpiece of all the people feeding him like reference bullshit of like, yeah, man, I like playing Donkey Kong and getting that secret Easter egg dab. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I feel like Jim Ryan just comes off sometimes where with Phil Spencer, you're right. You are correct. He definitely has that gamer more in mindset.
Yeah.
And I think where Kojima, again, I feel like just Kojima as, again, just interest. Again, he is an artist. Everything he shows, everything's done. Yeah. He treats everything he does as art.
Yeah.
And that's more in line with, I think, with like what, in this situation, not hypothetically what Xbox can offer, because let's say it was to $1 thing, with what I can't think of, like, just vibe more with Spencer than
even creative freedom too, right? So I feel you're absolutely right that Kojima's an artist first, right? Mm-hmm. And I think Xbox would give him that creative freedom that he would desire and ask for his studio to make what's needed and everything, and then for him to obviously oversee it. But I feel like he would have more wiggle room to do that, just because, like you said, Xbox has more capital, more cachet, if you will, compared to Sony. They just don't have the budget like Xbox does. You know what I mean? But I think most importantly, the relationship has changed drastically. Part of me thinks that if Shuhei Yoshida, or hell, even if what's his name, Trenton, even if Trenton was there, bringing it back. Maybe Kojima would consider staying with Sony. But relationships are everything when it comes to business, even from Japanese culture. You know what I mean? So
it's huge.
Yeah.
It's like, not to cut you off, but like, yeah, again, arguably we're not the ones that go into it too much. Yeah. But like we just mentioned, there is literally like a business culture difference with quote unquote the East and quote unquote the West. Right. We put our foot in the door a little bit. We talked about why we don't see as many acquisitions or mergers of Japanese studios compared to the West, and we mentioned that in that one episode. But you're right. Like, there's just no way there isn't some bad taste left in his mouth from that. Jim Ryan. and because that Kojima thing was prior to Ryan's time, but early on to Ryan's tenure or position at Sony, he could have been the hero and try to mend that bridge that was clearly left damaged from Kojima and that Kojima Studio situation. And back to your point, creative freedom. We've seen multiple interviews of people denouncing Sony and the lack of creativity from these companies. I forget the exact developer or game publisher offhand, but we did discuss that interview where they were saying, "quote Sony it locks you in." They literally had a lack of creative freedom with Sony.
Yeah.
Whereas with Microsoft, I can't say the exact hard opposite, but there is notably documented, again, more creative freedom within that.
Yeah.
Even as recent as this Activision Blizzard thing, that they've been assured of, like, hey, yes, this is us now, but minus the behind the scenes shit, but at creative level, hey, creatively do you. And that's something Kojima would like to hear, that, again, that even Jim Ryan were to say that, there's been hints of other things happening behind the scenes that may not be able to, he can't stay true to that.
Yeah. And I agree, Arthur. I think the last thing too that I wanted to put in the note as well is the fact that Japan has responded so well to Game Pass, and as far as these subscribers have so well, even console sales. You know what I mean? These are historic numbers compared to the previous history of that part of the world really getting anything that's Xbox focused. I remember one person that I worked with at GameStop, she went to Japan and she was like, oh, like the Xbox 360 section, that it looked like the PSP section here. You know what I mean? Yeah. And but now it's just completely 180. Like the sales are just skyrocketed. You know what I mean? So it's just. And especially with Game Pass, the subscribers are pretty, I think, are pretty significant out there as well. To me, to be honest, I mean, from the Sony part of my brain, part of me wants to say, like, Jim Ryan, if you're not an idiot, you would lock in Kojima, then you would want to assure him of creative freedom, regardless of whatever bullshit, expectations you have him from a performance perspective, KPIs and all that nonsense. But I think Kojima is going to do what he feels is most comfortable. And I think Phil Spencer has done a phenomenal job of creating that structure and that foundation. And I think how he manages relationships, I just think are just phenomenal. And essentially, I just want Kojima really to be happy with whatever decision he makes. I mean, just as the gamer, we just want to play his game, regardless on what console.
Yeah, we want that. And just real quick to your point, not verbatim because I just put my phone down, but there was that two things we mentioned. We mentioned in the past how Japan is currently Xbox's fastest growing market for console sales, and two, because the conversion rates and like taxes and stuff, the gamer.com mentioned how Xbox is even a bigger bargain for Japanese customers than it is here, because console prices are so high over there.
Right.
Again, loose, not verbatim from that. And we mentioned it many times, but I'll still say, I can't wait for that oh shit moment. Well, clearly not E3, but if at a showcase or some shit, if we see Kojima walk out on that green fucking stage.
We're gonna be podding, and I'm gonna be I might even drink that episode, and I'm gonna be cursing out Sony, and I'm gonna be like, you motherfuckers, like you could like. You want to give away the because in, I guess, kind of in Sony's defense, MLB The Show, they said, hey, we didn't want to, like, our contract was up with Sony, like we didn't want to go back to Sony, like they didn't necessarily, like we didn't lose, like Sony didn't lose us, like we just chose the best thing for them. They still lost that relationship, so like they like fuck them, fuck, like it's like on a Sony perspective, like you guys fucked up. So if they lose Kojima, like, dude, like it reminds me like Jerry Maguire, where like
Who's coming with me?
Where Kush is like, Kush is like, we sat with him an hour ago. It's like, no, so yeah, I'm gonna be very upset if that happens. But hey, we'll be back here. We'll be chatting it up.
I'll say one more prediction, and a snowball that might happen from that, and I think you might agree too. If Kojima were to leave Sony to go to Microsoft, that potentially would be might be that snowball, might be the push, that snowball to get more Japanese, quote unquote Eastern developers to come to Microsoft.
I think so. I think that's a fair point too, because they've already been killing it, with like the Tales series. They've been doing great. Xbox did a good job with that, and yeah, I think it'll influence it more. And we'll just have to see what happens here. But we're gonna wrap it up here for the Gamers for Life podcast. Made it slightly over an hour, so at least we gave the folks an hour of content here.
Hey,
and we really squeezed it out of our asshole because there wasn't a whole lot of news this week.
Yeah. And then I didn't have my nose to the ground as much because, like I said, just work stuff and family stuff coming up.
I mean, I had my notifications on Video Game Chronicle. I barely got any dings. I'm like, damn.
Couple things to kind of wrap up or to add to. Not won't go into too much, just face value. Real quick, so I mentioned earlier how No Man's Sky was included with the same list of quote unquote failed launches, and it is worth mentioning studio size comparison. Real quick, as of 2020, Hello Games has 26 employees. As of 2019, CD Projekt Red has 859. So when I put those studios up together, and I say, hey, studio size is worth mentioning. It is. One more thing to mention, Jadrell. Question to you: does it make you mad that turns out you can skip the 3-minute ladder in Metal Gear Solid? That was a quick little fun story that broke this week.
You know what? I actually didn't mind it. I felt like it was like a long loading time because I do remember playing that part of the game and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is a long part of the game, huh? But then especially when they added the main Snake Eater song, I'm like, okay, I'm just chilling to the I give my life not for honor but for you. Like, oh my God, that's fine.
as the kids may say, vibing.
Yeah, I was more so upset when the colonel said, okay, you have to go back to the beginning to get the sniper rifle. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? From the first Metal Gear Solid. That pissed me off more than anything because you literally had to go through everything that you went through through the game. Like even going through the Psycho Mantis thing when you already took care of Psycho Mantis, like that I was like, are you like? I think I turned off the game. I saved it and turned off the game at that point. So going up,
I'll come back to this.
Yeah. So going up a ladder for 3 minutes, I'm like, that's fine. But I'm going to end it here for the Games Fly podcast again, folks. Each and every Friday/Saturday, discussing all things games. I'm one of your hosts, Jarrell. With me is my co-host, Arthur Thomas. Thanks for, as always, man, sitting down for the gamers this time around.
Yeah. I was being a little more chill just because I had some technical issues.
No worries, man. No worries. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. We will see y'all next week.